With this, I'm going to show you how from Illustrator to create assets into a library, a Creative Cloud library managed by Adobe, and then create a social media post. Now, in the session, we started making the social media post in InDesign. On reflection, I don't know if it's necessarily the right tool for the job. I would normally use Photoshop for such a thing. Well, I will jump into Photoshop a little bit now, but I'm also going to show you how to use it, create a social media post just using Adobe Express, but you can upload your own assets to that, okay? So I've got my my brand elements here. I haven't got my color palette in here yet. But these are all the colours I'm going to use. These are my main primary colours, okay? It's not secondary colours that I might end up thinking about further down the line, but my main colours that I might want to use in headline things, elements of the logo. I could use the logo, it's a single colour, monotone colour in any of these. So in order to create this little library that I've got here, if you haven't got the library window open, go up to Window, and libraries. Libraries are useful because if you're using Creative Cloud, the Adobe Creative Cloud, it means these libraries should be available in all your other apps as well. Okay, so they should pop up in InDesign, in Photoshop, and in Illustrator, which is what I'm making them in here. In theory, they should appear on Adobe Express. That doesn't seem to be quite linking up, and I think it may be something to do with the university sort of account, the Adobe account, but that's absolutely fine because we can upload our own assets and create our own library a bit more manually, which is fine. Gives you a bit more of an understanding of how this is all going to work anyway. Before you start, I would really recommend with all the Adobe software, if you don't see the same workspace I'm seeing here, you're probably seeing something more like this. I find there's just not enough helpful menus and things that you'll need to access or even want to sort of experiment with, okay? I'd go to Window, Workspace, go to Essential Classic. I don't think it's just me being a stuck in the mud old fogey, but you get a lot more elements here and things like sort of changing colour. You can see that pop up here as well as down here. You've still got this funny little contextual menu that pops up, and depending on what tool you choose, in theory, once you start using them, a lot of this top element changes, and you've got all these down here. So a quick rundown, I'm not going to linger over it. You've got colour bits here, extra colour guides, you've got palettes for your colours, you've got brushes, symbols and patterns, the stroke, which is the outline of elements, you've got gradients, you've got transparency and blend modes, you've got effects, graphic styles. Probably won't need to use these a great deal. You've got layers, which can be useful, probably not so much in Illustrator, but certainly in Photoshop and InDesign can be great. Asset export, which we're going to use in a minute, and artboards. Okay. We haven't really looked at artboards a great deal, but it's something I would use probably more so in Photoshop, or if I'm using Illustrator to create a multi-page PDF, you can use artboards that way. Okay. So, without further ado, I've got my logos in here. I'm going to show you how I've created some of these. I'm going to do that by selecting this white version of the logo here. So I've grouped all this together. Okay, if you don't know how to group, select the elements you want to group, and group should pop up in here. I'm going to ungroup this briefly. Oh, by the way, up the top corner here, as I'm pressing buttons, okay, you'll see what I'm pressing up here. Okay, I've tried to make it down there, but it's not really working, so this is fine. So I've got this group here. It's a little cat, and that's already grouped. Okay, all the little elements there are grouped together. That's fine. And to ungroup and group, you do that, or you can go to Object, Group, Ungroup. Okay, the shortcut is Command and G to group, Command Shift and G to ungroup. So I'm going to create that and that, and I'm going to group them together. So Command and G will group them. I'm going to drag these over to here. I'm going to plop that back into the graphics folder. You can make new little sort of folders for each of these by clicking that, and no, sorry, I lied to you. Add a little folder. These are literally folders. Okay, that's a white version of the graphic. You can't see it obviously, it's on a white background. I'd call that white logo. There we go. and I've got a little icon there, and I might want a white version of that icon, so I'm going to ungroup, click this little cat dude, drag him over there, and call him white icon. I find it is useful to rename things. I know it can come across as being a bit over organised and a bit finicky, but it just saves you a headache down the run. You probably appreciate I'm not the most organised person in the world, but if you end up with a Photoshop document full of different layers that are all named different things, if I try and export these as random names and letters and numbers, untitled 1, untitled 58, into a folder, I'm not going to know what I'm looking at, okay? Especially if I end up sharing that with somebody and I'm expecting them to create things as well. So I've got these assets, it seems pretty good. That's my little library. Now in theory, that will beam across to things like Adobe, InDesign, Photoshop, okay? I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. What I am going to do is go into Google Chrome, okay? That's one I made earlier. I'm going to create a new, sorry, not Google Chrome, Adobe Express, okay? So in your favorite browser, be that Explorer, Safari, Chrome, Netscape Navigator if you live in the 90s, then, or Opera if you're very open source, then yeah, create some stuff. So pressing the plus bar, get started. I'm going to choose social media here. The other way to do this is if you just go to the home button. This big thing here, start from your content, generate blah blah blah. I'm going to start with the social media stuff simply because that'll give me the right dimensions. Okay, if you don't know what the dimensions are of what you're creating, you can just do a Google Instagram post size. Okay, and that sort of thing will pop up. All right, so the portrait one is what we're kind of doing now, is 1080 pixels across by 1350 pixels high. Okay, this gives you a 4.5 aspect ratio, which is not going to go into ratios right now. Cool. So where am I? I'm over in Adobe Express. I'm going to create an Instagram post. Instagram square post, Instagram reel, Instagram story ad, Instagram portrait post. Yes, into there. Brilliant. It does give you a load of templates, which I could start with. Basically, that will create these things you see in here, and each of these elements will be editable. However, I kind of know what I want from this. I'm going to create a background image based on space, which I may effect in Photoshop to make it more interesting. And I'm going to upload my elements. So if you just click yeah, well, I wouldn't, sorry, okay, that's fine. So I've got those, and currently everything lives in Illustrator. Now I can't just copy and paste from Illustrator into Adobe Express. That's not going to work. What I do need to do is turn each of these elements into assets, okay? And you turn them into little PNGs or JPEGs. PNGs are going to be good because they're transparent. JPEGs aren't transparent. They could be GIFs or GIFs. But they're a bit more blocky, they're not as clean and sort of crisp around the edges, and normally I would only use a GIF if it's animated, okay? But in theory, they can also be standalone graphics. A GIF isn't always an animated thing. Right, over here, this little square thing, Asset Export. If you don't see that as well, you can just find Asset Export here, okay? That'll create a little window of stuff to export. You can get to it a few ways. If I just selected something, what I'd normally do actually, if I was just selecting, say, this, and I thought, right, I want to turn that into a PNG, I'd go to File, Export Selection, okay? And it'll bring up this little window, and you can see that's kind of mirrored down here. This is going to be called the white full logo, or I could just call it white logo actually, because it's, yep, makes sense to me. I need to make sure I know where this is going, or it'll go somewhere completely random. I think I've probably already made a little folder in my working folder, my project, cat hat, assets, call it whatever you like, but assets is kind of handy. Open location after export, that will open the folder so you can view it. You don't really need that. Create subfolders, you end up with loads of random little folders, you don't want that. Scale, you probably see something more like 1 times, 2 times, okay, because I'm not entirely sure what the scale is of this here, if I'm completely honest. I'm going to do it by resolution. So, in terms of resolution, 72 ppi, okay, pixels per inch is the normal size for most screens. Since a lot of screens these days, and certainly in your phones, iPads, etc., are quite high resolution, I would actually recommend going to 150 ppi. Okay. If you're doing something for print, it needs to be at least 300 ppi. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very pixelated sort of version of your graphic. Okay. So for screen, which is what I'm using now, 150 is great. I want it as a PNG. I don't need any of these other elements. Just a regular PNG should do the job. Prefix, if I'm uploading loads of different things, I might want the software to rename each file to different things. I don't need to worry about an iOS or Android. I'm not creating an app elements here. This is just for web, so it's just a PNG. I'm going to export asset. Boom, it's done. Okay. If I go to my Finder window, a new Finder window, where does it live? It's in my external drive, so I've got no space on my hard drive. There's columns up here, so I get an easy way to sort of see what's going on. First years, you guys, cat hat, assets. There it is, my white logo. Can't see it because it's white, but there we go. Okay, it's transparent, brilliant. Now I can do the same thing by dragging that into here. Okay, I could rename these. So they're separate actually. That's fine. I'm going to go for black icon, black type. Okay, or title. It's technically a logo type. If I want the full version, I do need to group these together. So I press the little group button up there, or press Command and G or Control G if you're on a Windows machine. I apologise for using Windows. And call this black logo. And I've got the full colour logo here. I'm going to make sure that's grouped. Drag him in there. And that's going to be the full colour logo. Right. I could also create each of these could be their own little sort of color palette. I'm going to do that quite separately in Adobe Express, and it will make sense to you when I show you how versatile when you use these funny hex numbers. Remember looking at these that reference basically the amount of red, green and blue, or the cyan, magenta, yellow and black in an image. These are much quicker and easier to switch between different apps. Okay. They're not necessarily the right way of doing it if you're getting deep into print design or screen design, but they are a useful reference. Right, got these elements, I really like them, so I'm going to export these. What it might do is ask me in my show I want to do the white logo because it's already got a version, but I'm fine with that. All the assets should be the same as they were in that other window. If I want to see what the other window looks like, I think if I press that little button there, I get the same thing, okay? But it works just the same way now because I've already set that. Go to here, choose. Boom. Right now, theory over here. Oh, what happened there? Ah, I only selected that guy. Right, actually, you got to select them. I do apologise. You either click and drag. No, you have to select them individually. Hold down Shift to select more than one. There we go. What? Where's the? Hold down Command and click each one individually. If you hold down Shift, it will create whatever you've clicked, sort of to the last one you've clicked, if that makes sense. If you want them individual or turn ones off individually, hold down Command or Control if you're on Windows. Alright, I've exported the other two, so I'm just exporting these three. Choose. Brilliant. Now, here we go. I've got my little graphics. I want to plop them into Adobe Express. So I've got my page here. I'm going to upload. Upload first my assets. I'm going to have a white logo, I think. Okay, the full white logo. Boom, he's there. Now I can't see him because he's a white logo. I'm going to upload the black logo as well, just so you can see the see that it does actually work. Black logo. Boom, there he is. Fab. Okay. Now I'm going to make a background first. So I've got some space imagery. So I've got on its own, it's fine. I want to give it the brand colors that I'm using. So I'm going to open up Photoshop. It's already open. and create. I'm going to go to open because I just want to work on that actual file. It's on my computer. Oh, where does it live? Where does it live? It's in there. No, it's not. Where is it? It's in there. In there. There we go. There's my photo that I got from pexels.com. Okay, a free stock website. Now let's bring that over so you can see what we're doing. Okay, so there's various things you can do in Photoshop. We haven't looked at Photoshop probably nearly enough, but basically this is a great place to start editing and playing with photos. Okay, a lot of the tools are very similar. You've got the move tool up here. You can create text, you can create shapes, and a lot basically in theory, you know, if you want to create a poster, if you want to create a graphic, there's also got pen tools that work very similar to how Illustrator works. It's got brush tools if you just want to get into painting. And essentially, really, if you want to create a poster, a graphic, you can use either Illustrator, InDesign, or Photoshop, but they all kind of have a forte at one particular thing. So Photoshop, unsurprisingly, is graphics and photos, okay, to manipulate and add effects or overlay things that way. So I started using it when we were making our little mood boards. It's quite easy to create a load of layers and start moving them around, adjusting the layers. Okay, what I'm going to do is to create a really nice sort of effect. So by and large, if you've got a graphic in your in Photoshop, you can just drag elements in as well if you need to. But I've opened this little file. At the moment it's locked. I can't do much with it. I'm going to double click it, and that seems to unlock it. The other option you could do also is lock it. I just realised is there's a little lock button there, so you can just press that to unlock and lock it. That just means you can't really do anything with it when it's locked. Anyway, I've got this photo now. If you double click on any layer, you get these layer styles, and there's a few different things that they do. So it's not really going to show much difference here, but in theory, if I showed you the is outer glow, if you've got little elements like text, you can do color overlay. That literally just overlays the color. What you could do with a color overlay is say I choose that color. Oh, I can't do much. Oh, there we are. I can choose, say, I don't know, a red. Up here we've got blend mode, so I could change the blend mode of that color. You can see it's sort of making elements different, sort of thing there. That's quite cool, isn't it? Great. So that's kind of where Photoshop is fun, quick and easy to start playing with. Okay, you can add an inner glow. I'm only adding an inner glow here because it's a photograph, but let's see if we can make sense of what I'm doing. If I go to change the blend mode to normal, you actually be able to see it. Not sure if we can very easily. No, alright, ignore me there. Double click back in here. I don't want any of these done anyway. What I do want to do though is add down the bottom here, we've got things called adjustment layers. And we can change the levels, which is you pick the darkest element or the whitest element you want to use. And do that. There's curves. So if anyone knows about photography, basically this end over here can create things darker. That's the darker elements, and over here is the lighter elements. So you bring that bright. You can really start sort of playing around. You play with some sorts of random effects. Okay. There's a million and one tutorials online on how to do various bits and bobs like that. I will make sure on the Moodle there's links to some cool Photoshop tutorials as well as just the Adobe stuff, okay? But the main need for this module is to understand how to create graphics, create elements, create branding. Anyway, so I've increased the contrast here on my curves a little bit. I'm going to now add what's called a gradient map. So whereas I just changed the color just now of that and I changed the blend mode, gradient map treats the darkest elements as a particular color. So I'm going to choose a color here and I'm going to find out what the color was. So if I go blue to pink, that would be quite nice. So I'm going to click that square there. I'm going to see what the color is here, the hex color, hexadecimal color. Copy that. So copy was just Command and C or Control C if you're on Windows. I'm just pressing Command and Tab by the way here just to switch between software. Click in there and paste. Cool. And the lightest elements, I'm going to make that pink, I think. So I'm selecting that pink, double click in there, copy that, go over here, double click in there, paste. Okay, and I want to save it. So there's a few ways to save these. If I just save, it'll save as a Photoshop file, okay, as a default. And that's fine because that'll be what I can work on. So I'm just going to save that as now. So space background, in case I want to go back in and play with it. It's a PSD Photoshop document. Okay, click OK. Now I actually want to save this as a standalone image file. Like imagine it like flattened little image file, like a photo. If I go to export, there's an option to export as a PNG. Generally, I do end up doing that these days, just that's quick and easy. Okay, technically though, you should really save PNGs for as graphic elements. You can use them as little standalone sort of compositions as well. If you're editing photos, I would recommend saving as a JPEG. Okay, and you can go to export as. And in here we should have the option as a JPEG. So let me, yeah, so I can save that as a JPEG. Change the quality settings. It's saying how big it is. It's quite a large file. Actually, it's much larger than my Instagram canvas, but that's fine because photographs are generally a lot larger. It means I can zoom in as well and probably crop it around in the middle, so I'll have that really interesting space bit as the background. I'm going to see how that goes. I'm going to export that. Ask me where it wants to go. Again, I need to find the folder I'm saving into. I mean, this bit is boring, having to save stuff all in the same place. And I'm sure there's a quick and easy way for it to remember. Still haven't found it. Right, I'll click it into there. Okay, so that's one way. The other way is to go to save as a copy. And that gives you loads of different options as crazy formats. And again, you could just go to JPEG if you want to do, or you could just do PNG. I'm not going to do that now because it's already saved. Right. So that's my Photoshop file exported. I'm just going to check I can see it. Sorry, I had to do a bit of file management just now. So I couldn't save anything. Right. Gosh, cat hat. Right, there we go. Got PNG there. There's my PSD. So I can't upload the PSD because that's the Photoshop file, but I'm going to upload the JPEG, or PNG rather. I've got, haven't I? What is it? JPEG. All right, upload. Space background. Okay. Boom. That looks tiny for some reason, but I'm going to enlarge it. I'm going to hold down Shift. Oh no, that's literally just a bounding box. So the same problem we usually have in InDesign. There we go. Down to the edges. Click and drag. And in this and in Photoshop, you don't have to hold down Shift, which is a bit crazy. You used to be able to back in the olden days. And a lot of the same tools work across all the other stuff. So Command minus here zooms out. Okay. If I hold down Option, it will just zoom from the middle. There you go, let's try that. Oh, that's horribly pixelated. That's nasty, isn't it? Don't do that. Let's bring it back in again. There we go. That'll do. Now, at the moment, it's over the top. Up here we've got some layers. Okay, so I'm going to drag that down there. Actually, I don't want the this guy here. I'm going to... Oh, that's quite a cool effect. Maybe I could turn that into a background. Oh, that works all right. I might do that. Okay, a bit of a weird drop shadow. Okay, so I've got my main thing up there. I could always delete him if I wanted to. Replace him with another graphic. That's all fine. I was going to go over to my stuff here. Go to libraries. Now, I've already uploaded some elements to here, okay? Easy way to do that is to remember how I did it now. Create a whole brand here as well. Okay, something I haven't really delved into Adobe Express. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Okay, but it does seem a very useful tool, and it could be really, really great. And I think if you want to have a go, please do by all means have a go at creating a new little brand. Imagine you press that to make a new brand. Go in there, and I imagine you can then import libraries. It works very similar in the way as Canva would work. So lots of marketing agencies, promotion people, PR we use now to create social media content. and other web assets and things like that. So this is working exactly the same way. At the moment you've got a free subscription. I think this may end up sort of becoming the sort of default standard for that sort of thing. Sorry, where was I? Here. Projects, sorry. Working on here, right. So libraries, I think in order to create a lot of this, I simply I could use that as a brand. There we go. Now if I go to brands, huh? Is it gone now? If I refresh. There we go. So my brand, I've got my Cat Hat Social. Sometimes you need to refresh things don't appear. Okay, it is a computer at the end of the day. It doesn't really know everything. That's cool. I'm just going to work out how I added my stuff in the first place. Libraries. So if you create a new library, okay, that's what we just did. So let's call this Cat Hat 2. So let's just show you how I made it in the first place. Okay, you just click in there. You can add your colors, add your fonts. Okay, and upload your graphics. So in exactly the same way that we just did, you can do that this way. And it means you've got that then. Whenever you go back in, you can go and access them. In order to add your colors, okay, we do a similar thing that we did before. So if I go back into Illustrator, I want to make sure I've got this pink as a particular color. Copy that again. Go in here. Press the little plus. Add a color swatch. There we go. Okay, can't do much there, but if I press custom, I can just go in here, paste, press enter, make sure it's the right thing. Yep, save. Great. If I want to make another one, just add a color swatch, and I choose the other color, so on and so forth. Okay. In order to add text, you just click fonts plus and choose the font that you've chosen. If you can't remember what it is, you should probably have it in one of your Illustrator files, and select that there. If I go in there, what is it? It's in condensed bold. Great. Okay. So I've done all that already. This one I created earlier. So my font here is, if I click on that, it just creates a new text for me with the font that I've chosen. And I can add my new text. So what should I write in here? Hats for your cat. And my fill color is going to be, I might choose one of my brand colors actually. So if I just go back, I'm creature of habit, and see what the green's like. It'll probably look hideous on the blue, to be honest with you. Copy that. Let's give it a go. The pink works quite well. No, I'm going to go for the pink actually. I know I've already got it in my brand up there. I'm just, bouncing between stuff. I just show you kind of how easy it is to do. That's for your cat. Cool, happy with that. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. You can change the outline thickness. You can add an outline or a stroke. I'm going to make this big. Let's go to 80. There we go. Fab. Move this around a little bit. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that black one. Just hide it. I'm surprised you can't just turn it off. Okay, I'm just going to delete it for now. It's fine. These pink lines are sort of a guide, same as the smart guides in the Adobe software on your desktop. That's for your cat. And then I'm going to make a new font. Oh. It's going to be wherever they are. Okay, I've made that in a lowercase just because it's a bit more calm. And I'm going to see if I can choose a different colour. Can I apply my brand to that? Yeah, I'm just going to go back in here. Sorry. copy. Go back into there, paste. Here they are. There we are. Okay, I mean, it's not going to win any awards, but you get the idea. That is my graphic. I'm happy with that. Now, if I want to export that as a PNG or a PDF even, or a JPEG, obviously if it was a PNG or a JPEG, I could send it to my phone and then just add it straight to Instagram. Okay, we're not necessarily going to do that. I just need you to send it over to me. So I go to my stuff. Let's go to projects and files even. There we go. That's my latest one. So it's the same we're working on here. Great. And if I want to download that, that's what I need to do. So I can share it if I wanted to. Then it'll go up to social media, or I can schedule it. You have to plug in your social media content for this though. Or you can just send it to other elements. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to download PNG. Yep, saying PNG is fine. File sizes. How the world changes. Right. I can save it with PDF as well. For sending it over for uploading it as part of your assessment, you could probably do it either as a PDF or a PNG or a JPEG. Just do best of document should be fine. I'm going to save this as a PDF just to see what happens. That's all fine. We don't need to add the accessibility elements right now. Download. This is just telling me to make more stuff. I don't need to do that right now. There we go. Right. So, there we go. Oh, we're saving it somewhere else. Not into that folder. It's a different project. Cat hat. Let's put them in the assets. And it's going to be Insta post. Boom. Up here. Let's have a look. Great. There we go.